Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation bringing you guys Game 3 of Absolute Legends versus 3D Clan. This is a best of 3 series. We're going on into the final one as 1-1. That obviously makes it so that there has to be one winner. The one has to be one that takes 2 games out of the series, and we're going to see who it is in this next game here. I'm Blaze of the Premier League. Happy to be able to bring you guys this game here, and I gotta say, just solid play from Absolute Legends. They really took things by storm, took control of the map early with the Chen to push out aggressively, and from there, teamfight after teamfight, it always went their way no matter what happened, and they had good control over the Enigma, and they just made sure that they fought early enough that the Gyrocopter and the Lunar weren't major factors. So taking those out were really effective and instrumental in staying on top of things there, and just well played to them. But we move on in, checking out what these two teams bring to the table in Game 3, and I'm excited for it. They've gone back and forth, they've shown that they're kind of on even playing field, and now we're going to see what happens in this next draft here. So we're looking at the Wisp and the Darkseer banned out for Absolute Legends. We're seeing Nyx Assassin and the Bat Rider taken off the board for 3D Clan. But leaving that out, AL has once again the first pick available here, and that means that they have the option of picking up the Keeper Light, which they indeed do. They've ran him to relatively great success in the past 2 games, specifically in the most recent one, getting some good long-term Illuminates, pushing back the aggression that was happening on the Tier 2 and top, really helped them delay until they were raring to actually participate in the fight that they wanted to take. So it's good for controlling the map, and like I've said time and time again, really setting up the carry to go for late game. The recall, so very powerful, and a lot of people underestimate it. You can farm all to your heart's content and be ready to rumble, and right in the middle of the action a few seconds later. It's really good. But instead, we see the Magnus and the Nature's Prophet picked up by 3D Clan. This time, the Magnus getting on through, despite the Darkseer ban, means that they can pick that up and try to go for some AoE positional control. Use that reverse polarity, group them all up, and bring them all down with some nice AoE. To start that off, they have Wrath of Nature, which is kind of an AoE, sort of. But anyways, the idea behind it is they're going to follow that up with maybe a Gyrocopter, a Sven, Queen of Pain, even a G-Hero can dish out a lot of damage in this little tiny spot. They call the reverse polarity, and instead, Absolute Legends is going to counter draft that up with the Rubik. I think that's pretty much the perfect pick in this scenario. They need to make sure that they keep control of things. They can use the telekinesis to set up Illuminates to control the lane up top very effectively with the PL, which they once again acquire. And from there, if the Rubik is in a good position, can use his Force Staff and his Blink aggressively, can steal RPs left and right, and really sock it to the enemy with their own abilities, can be very powerful. And I definitely think that that's what we're going to have to look out for. We do see the Nature's Prophet adding a lot of global presence, which can help to gank up the Phantom Lancer if he picks up Dust or Sentries early on. But we haven't really seen a lot of high-pressure, gank up the Phantom Lancer type mindsets. They usually let him farm for at least 10 minutes before he actually is under large amounts of pressure. And that could be costly. The last time around, he was able to get up tons of farm, move in towards that Manta, Diffuse the Heart combo, which just made it so PL could just dish out so much. There really wasn't much they could do. Now they have another option, though. They pick up the Shadow Demon, which is one of those powerful counters to the Shadow Demon that a lot of people don't really consider. It's not very reliable in the sense that the Phantom Edge procs are completely randomized, but if in the time period with which you disrupt a Phantom Lancer or a Phantom Lancer illusion evenly, what they can do is have those illusions just propagate once or twice, build up bigger and better illusions, and suddenly you have your own army of Catman warriors just duking it out with the rest of them, and that can work out very nicely. It can make it so that you actually turn the tide using your enemy stats against them. It's similar to how the Wild Replica plays comes into play, but specifically this is targeting that one illusion-oriented hero with tons of heavy stat gains through that agility. So that's what we're going to see here. Along with that, Ben's going to be starting off with the Antimates taken off the board. Right now, the 3D Clan does not have much as far as a carry for Medved to pick up here. So taking out the Gyro, taking out the AM, probably taking off the Luna as their third. Just kind of that kind of standard trifecta that they don't want to have to deal with the Magnus. And from there, what does 3D Clan have to work with? Maybe a Sven? I mentioned that before. He's not as popularized as since that Daedalus nerf that reduced the coefficient to 2.4. But it's still a lot of output. They can go for Stormbolts, they can go for the Cleave and the Empower to stack on top of that over and over. Or they could try to go for something even more late game, an anti-carry, a Faceless Void, and go for a Battle Fury on him. Just farm away, and suddenly, if they're clustered up, if Magnus gets that RP, you start cleaving away with Empower, Battle Fury, maybe a Mask of Madness even, and then as soon as the RP is ending, you put up that the Chronosphere, and it's just chain disables, chain damage, large output. So those are the two carries that I think are most viable in this circumstance, but 3D Clan plays a very dynamic style, and I'm ready for a surprise as well, so we'll have to see. Alrighty then, so we see the Brewmaster banned out. They saw that used to rather great effect, actually, last game. I think that was a pretty powerful pick for them, and although it didn't make or break a lot of the fights, it really helped in the sense that the Gyrocopter didn't have that BKB up, and he just kept on throwing disable after disable his direction, kind of thwarting his intentions there. And since PL isn't one of those BKB type carries, it's one of those guys that you really don't want to deal with. You get hazed up until you have a Manta Style or want to use a Diffusal Charge on yourself, you're going to have to live with it. And from there, we do see the Tinker and the Gyrocopter bands come out. I guess it's a little bit of, again, still Stallianer respect for that Tinker. Haven't seen it myself, but obviously it must be strong for them to be counter-drafting it that hard. Either way, Mania taking those heroes off the board, and the Enigma instead coming out as a ban for 3D Clan. I don't think that's what they would have picked up. They already have the Rubik and the Keeper on the top lane to support very well, but it could have been something that they wanted to run on the off lane. Could have been something that they wanted to send down bottom, and they're going to just stop that idea in its tracks. 100%.
10 seconds remaining.
So, with that in mind, we're going to be looking at the mid pickup in just a moment, and I'm curious to see what it'll be. If it could be something more aggressive, like a Night Stalker, that Silence being instrumental in stopping a Shadow Demon or a Magnus from using their utilities, or something more passive, something that can just farm away. Chie is really powerful in a Magnus versus Templar Assassin matchup in the mid, so that could be something they could look at, or honestly, the world's their oyster. They have the Queen of Pain. They have the no, they don't have the Puck now. They just got that banned out. But they have a lot of mobile active heroes, and Absolute Legends pretty much can do whatever they want for the mid lane. They do not have that many limitations. Storm Spirit might be powerful, but they go for the Clockwork, and I definitely agree with that pickup. They can run him in the off lane, in the worst case scenario, in the mid lane, in the other, in a standard situation where they don't need somebody super survivable down there. But pretty much what they're looking at here with the Clockwork is the ability to really control the pace of the battle. If you trap Magnus inside Cogs, and he has to try to skewer on out just to find his target, that is a very predictable vector. It's something you can avoid very effectively, and from there, you can just make sure that people are completely screwed over in the positioning of the fight. You can find a Nature's Prophet. A Clockwork against a Nature's Prophet is such a fun way to go about a game. You go for the Clockwork hook. Every time he sprouts himself in trees, suddenly you have just a bullseye with which to R-click, and suddenly you get a free single cage match with one of these most pesky little guys that can't even teleport out because your battery assault is going away. So that's a really, really good way to look at things. As far as how they can shape up the battlefield beyond that, the Keeper Light has a really cool utility called the Blinding Light. You put that Blinding Light on top of the Cogs. As soon as it's about to expire, you get some damage from all the Cogs. You get the miss chance of 80% on top of every single one of them for an extended period of time. It's really, really slick, and I think AL has a powerful teamfight if they can just use that to great effect. The final selections here, we see the Queen of Pain come on out, and Absolute Legends is going to be looking for their mid or their offlaner to kind of proceed on through from here. I really would like to see a Windrunner pick. That's just my personal opinion. I think she's a very strong hero in the right hands, but Absolute Legends hasn't really shown that they have that much interest in that kind of selection. Same thing with 3D Clans. So either way, it's a thing there, but with the Clockwork picked up, they have an option for either lane. The Clockwork can still survive pretty well with some nice cog manipulation, and I think that wouldn't be too difficult for him either. Queen of Pain on the mid as opposed to the Magnus, I'm not too sure. It's really, obviously one of the two are going to be on the mid and one on the off lane. That's pretty much the exact same thing that we're looking at with Absolute Legends. But Queen of Pain has more reliable escape mechanisms than Magnus in the sense that Rubik can actually telekinesis the Magnus out of his skewer. He starts the skewer, he moves maybe 100 units, and suddenly he's up in the air, thrown right back in the action, and there's really no escape for him there. So I think Queen of Pain could do a little bit better, actually having some options to blink on into the trees to dodge out Illuminates that are just going right on down the lane. Things like that could be a little bit tricky and work out a lot better for the matchup. But beyond that, they're going to make sure that the Nature's Prophets farming away, looking for that Midas, trying to get some Hala, get Dala, and hopefully that'll work out for him, because he's going to have to go into a semi-carry role here. They have utility, they have some bursts as well, but as far as physical damage, until they pick up a solid carry, they're completely lacking in that regard, and they need to start making a move on that, making a play with this last selection. They can counteract the Phantom Lancer to a decent extent, but they're going to have to look for the Luna here, and that's just my personal opinion. I mentioned the Sven already, but with the Luna not getting banned out, I think it's a no-brainer in this specific scenario. Either way, Chen getting picked up used to great effect in the last round, and I think they're going to have pretty much the same exact mindset going on into this next one. Illuminate to push down the tower, opening up tons of breathing room for Phantom Lancer to just farm to his heart's content, while they control more and more of the map over time through the Chen, his roaming around with the neutrals, and his battering down of the towers.
5 seconds remaining.
So, looking at this last one, they're going to actually tap into their reserve time here. So that is going to be interesting. Pretty much still being pretty decisive about how they want this to play out. The Chen offers a weird interaction here because they can't just like single target focus somebody down. He can test to face somebody out. He can mechanism really well. Hand of God, of course, being effective. And he has some actual pretty good ways to disengage the fight. Not as effective as Shadow Demon in my mind, but it's still one of those supports that if they're putting out that pressure early and you don't have anything to retaliate with as far as counter push goes, you're going to be in a bad spot. Luna still not coming out. They might be afraid of the clockwork initiation, but they go for the Sven. Okay, that was one of the options that I was looking at, of course, and I think it will be used very, very powerfully here. As far as laning goes, Shadow Demon, Sven, we'll go down on bottom, Nature's Prophet in the jungle, solo doing that once more, and then we'll have, it looks like Sidori's going to pick up the Magnus on top. It's interesting. I mean, Stallianer loves the Queen of Pain, and Sidori loves the Magnus. That's really, really works as far as the player-hero interaction. The problem I see with that is that if Magnus is up on the top lane, Miracle has an open opportunity, an open door to gank him up aggressively, and as long as he hangs on to the telekinesis, waits for the lance to come out and the skewer to be forced, then they can easily get a first blood, easily get a bunch of follow-up kills, and it's really not going to be favorable for them long term. So it's interesting that they picked it up this way, and although I know Stallianer loves to play aggressively with that Quap, I just don't know if they need to lane it this way. I kind of feel that if Queen of Pain went up top, they might have a little bit better chance in that scenario, but hard to say. It looks like I'm having an issue with XSplit. There we go. So starting things off, cool Vermilion Courier. Awesome. But anyways, we see the Bassi coming out for solo right off the bat. He definitely wants to go for that jungle. Go for a little bit of push early on as well. Unicorn picking up the Quelling Ring Protection, going for either Aquila or Tranquils very early on. Megal going for that Stout Shield. Going to be very, very survivable down on bottom lane. The question is to what end, if he's going to be able to hold the line against a Sven and a Shadow Demon, two very great lane controllers. With the Disruption and the Stormbolt, even with the Cogs, he's going to have kind of a hard time in that kind of position. Going to get trapped in with his own clones, and from there he's going to take some right-click damage one way or another. A little bit of delay here. No, it should be alright though. Anyways, Unicorn up top, he is going to be supported up nicely by Synderen and Mania. Both of them kind of making sure that they don't have to worry about the primary stats too much, mostly focusing on those consumables. And we'll see how effective that is long term. Rubik is actually going to go on the mid, this means. So Miracle is heading up in the mid, and that's interesting. That's one thing that I didn't point out when they picked up the Chen, but it did skew their lanes completely. Pretty much what it means is that the Sidori is going to be able to take some hits here and there, but he is going to be able to survive with Skewer long term, because Mania is going to be forced into the mid lane role, and although that's okay for him, two things that Rubik isn't as great in, now that he has been reduced as far as nerfs go, he doesn't control runes as effectively, with only a 290 movement speed, as a comparison to Stallianer with not only 300, but a rank 1 blink to work with very, very aggressively. It just means that when we jump on into it, the Stallianer is going to be able to control much more as far as runes go, and it's going to require good rotation from Synderen and Mania if they want to actually win this mid lane. From there, though, if Miracle gets some good experience right off the bat, one great benefit to it is that the fact that he can pick up that null field relatively early. He can actually just go for 1 or 2 Intelli and go for that null field, aggressively ranking that, and from there, that'll set him up so that they actually can keep a lot of points on the board as far as not having to worry nearly as much about Queen of Pain's magic damage output, reducing that as best they can. You see Sidori trying to get some hits in. Stout Shield paying off quite substantially, but Synderen still manipulating that movement speed of the hero, as well as that substantial range to control things very, very nicely.
Denied.
Beyond that, Megal and Medved kind of dueling it out right now, actually pulling him into the cogs. Kind of wanted to just harass him back and pull him away, but for the moment he takes a few hits from the creeps, but doesn't make a big deal long term. We do see Soul Catcher come out onto creeps for some reason. Not too sure about that, but either way, maybe it's an aggro mechanic, I don't know. Either way, We do see Miggle coming in to try to contest this a little bit more directly, and either way, it sees that Miggle wants to go for a big last hit here, trying to just jack a couple creeps, make sure it at least doesn't die to the neutrals, but it doesn't seem to be an option. He's out of in position here. They don't have the Sprout, but the Stormbolt will allow them to connect, and with this Soul Catcher, too much damage will come on through. Miggle trapped in with Medved, and the first blood will go to Dread. So just really, really good rotation from Solo. A couple right clicks to lend their way, but it was really all about this Warcry Stormbolt combo that allowed Sven to catch up and lock down the Clockwork, unfortunately for him. Dropping down some rockets, doing a little bit of harassment here and there, but nothing long term. Stalianer controlling the mid lane a little bit more aggressively against Miracle. As far as the bottles coming on out, looks like Queen of Pain already has her en route. Miracle a little bit behind the times, as his is just a little bit slower. Also is only a ground courier as opposed to the super cool flying one. So definitely something to keep in mind as Stalianer picks up on the top rune here, has full control of the lane now with this double damage, can pretty much do whatever she wants. Speaking of Unicorn getting complete free farm right now. 14 last hits, can get tons of denies as well. Sadoy trying to contest him as best he can, but there's only so much you can do when he's got a Quelling Blade and a really high maximum damage. Actually, range is 61 to 83, so although that's a very, very high split between the two, a very, very high difference between his potential damage and his actual damage, it still makes it so that he has a lot of potential to get the last hits way before a Magnus, who tops out at 67, and that's not even talking about the fact that he has a Quelling Blade. So really, really big difference between those two heroes in their last hit deny potential, and that, along with the solid support of Synderen, is exactly why he's sitting currently at 6 last hits, and the Phantom Lancer is moving in towards 19. Mid lane, Miracle still taking some big hits here. Rank 1 Shadow Strike at least, forcing him back for the moment. And Stalianer just showing how he knows this matchup so well, using the double damage, getting some right clicks on in, and it forces Rubik back. He bottles up, a Miracle actually getting blinked on here. One more right click to lend that way, and it's pretty much effectively 2 right clicks right now. It's effectively 2 free auto attacks every time you get one because of that DD. And so he's going to have to bottle crawl immediately, and that's going to put him in a very, very poor position moving on into this 4-minute rune. Mania kind of covering up the top, but this Hellbear can only do so much. We've talked about how Sadoy has that skewer, but currently is out of mana. Kind of trying to bottle up for the moment, and if he doesn't have 80 mana to work with, he could easily get flanked to gank right here. They don't have the Lance, however, to slow Sadoy down, so the Hellbear may not get in range for Clap. He is going to close the distance, going to get that damage off. The question is whether or not it will be enough. It's the Test of Faith will... Actually, he is trapped in for the moment. Now, big Illuminate coming across. The Test of Faith will be enough damage, 100%. It's a high roll, low roll, doesn't matter. He is caught in. However, the TP, Retaliation, Synderen gets locked down. Mania will be a retaliatory kill. Double kill for Solo. So, although they did pick up a single kill on the Magnus, they actually lost a lot in exchange. Dread keeping alive despite the Hellbear's pursuit, and they're going to be able to just walk away from that. Did commit 2 TPs, though. So, 2 kills for 1, but committed 2 TPs to the top. I guess one of them is a Prophet TP, so not the worst one way or another. But the more important thing to mention is what they get out of it. The Nature's Prophet moving up has 2 kills and 1 assist. Is able to pick up that Midas in no time at all. And, 5-6 minute Midas is going to be instrumental in making sure that Nature's Prophet can just stay on top of the opposition. Can really get a huge experience advantage, a gold advantage, and gank more effectively, harder stats, harder right click, and even better Wrath of Nature. So, really, really excited to see what he has up his sleeve with all this gold that he's been getting, and just showing the power of that Prophet pick. Able to be very, very mobile without any delay, getting exactly where he needs to be. Synderen coming in, dueling out with Sadoy, tries to skewer him back, but no such luck. Synderen too quick on his feet, 365 MS with those boots, and yeah, he's able to just dodge on out of there, and makes it so that Solo just cancels out that TP. Instead, heads on the mid lane, puts some damage into Miracle, and he's going to get dropped down really quickly. Only has level 4, so too much damage already. Shadow Demon also taking part in that, just really setting things up without even a disruption. Just walking on through, Stalianer slowing him down, Dread and Solo there to help pick up the kill. So that is really, really setting a Miracle behind. Look at that experience. You see level 4 compared to level 6, specifically in the experience per minute department, you're looking at 218 versus 412. So very awkward in that regard, and it's really, really making it so that Queen of Pain will continue to dominate not only the mid lane, but move into gank aggressively on every other lane they're in. So she's even keeping up with the Phantom Lancer as far as creep kills go, and that's really exactly where she wants to be. Go looking up at top, Mania takes out the double damage rune. Kind of surprised he didn't go for it himself, but I don't know. Either way, Stalianer going to be walking away with nothing here. Might even have to bottle crow if she wants to maintain this kind of control she's already acquired. Do we see a TP up on mid again? man, Solo coming on in. The Shadow Strike didn't come just yet, but the Sprout locking him in long enough. Miracle without any tangos. They're like, okay, well, we'll take it. And now it looks like Stallianer with a nice little scream and right click will finish him off. And that's because he still doesn't have any tree cutters. No Quelling Blade, no tangos. And they're taking advantage of that. Every single time he comes on the lane, Solo checks him and finds that opportunity. Now we do see the Clockwork actually hitting his rocket right on Nature's Prophets. That is a nice pick off there. Not exactly what they wanted as far as direct retaliation, but it adds up, it helps out. We do see actually down on bottom, Miggle actually getting dropped down, almost finishing off Medved, but instead not actually finding the kill. He got trapped down, got disruption, stunned up, and from there, that's going to be enough for Medved to stay on the lane, look for a Midas of his own, and he has actually only 10 gold off from that, so very nice indeed. And with this Midas already up on Solo, that means that if Absolute Legends doesn't do something very, very quickly, the late game is completely in the hands of 3D Clan. The Phantom Lancer is very solid as far as late game potential, but just the amount of golden experience at each and every cooldown Sven and Nature's Prophet are going to pick up here, it's just a little bit too much. And we see the kills just keep on going in favor of 3D Clan in the first place. So one really painful thing, looking at level 8 Stallianer going up against this Rubik, is that the Rubik doesn't even have spell steal. He can't steal that big scream, that big sonic wave. He doesn't stand a chance because he's only sitting at level 5, not even close to level 6. Trying to roam around to control runes, but Solo's got that pretty well covered. Sprouting in Miggle, not a big deal either way, but with Queen of Pain coming in, that might be a different story. Nice telekinesis, pulling him back. Stallianer gets the damage though and finishes him off with the ultimate. Clockwork is dropped down as well with Dread, popping off a couple Shadow Poisons, and with that maxed out to rank 4, that's a lot of damage that people underestimate. So him falling back from there just a little bit too late, and they're going to try to transition this into a push. This is just the kind of this kind of beginning is what we saw in game 1, where 3D Clan just takes it by storm with this Prophet gaining momentum early on, ganking up aggressively, and now we see a 3k gold advantage. We see a 4k experience advantage, and that's only going to get worse from here unless they start doing something very, very different. They try to get some pressure out on Magnus, but it's just that continuous action between Unicorn and presumably the Keeper Light, but we see actually Synderen transitioning down towards the bottom lane here.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Stallianer, Haste Rune available, moving in towards an Orchid long term. We'll be able to just set up a ton of damage early on Rubik and pretty much just go for solo kills on him over and over and over again. And Miracle is having a hard time with things. He needs some transitions in from some good support, specifically the Clockwork. He needs to get a good hook shot on this Queen of Pain if they stand any chance of locking her down. But right now, just too mobile, too active. Stallianer, even with a rank 1 blink, it's still escapable enough that that might not even be an option there. Miggle holding the line down on bottom, but as far as last hits go, he's pretty much just not been able to accomplish too much here. Dread is actually going to get a kill out of this long term. Sudoi is in a bad spot as well, but it looks like they're actually going to be able to counteract enough to bring down the Chen. Now looking for Miracle, they do get a Scream Steal, but he only has enough mana for 1. So Stallianer trying to go aggressive with this Haste Rune, still active, goes up top, and he could easily find them here if he just had vision, but at nighttime it's a little bit more difficult, looking for Shadow Poison to reveal the way. Instead, they just hold the line with the creeps and are waiting more patiently for their next move. Either way, that was a really, really powerful pickoff for the Shadow Demon, bringing down the Phantom Lancer as well as the Chen. Sorry I missed that a little bit on the front end of things. Getting a little bit of input lag for some reason, but hopefully we'll be able to... Okay, nice hookshot on Solo. Big, big movement from Miggle going on in, and Solo tries to sprout on out, tries to survive, gets disruptioned up instead. Dread trying to save him, but instead just delays it. He is able to walk away here. Miggle able to be jumped on out, and Unicorn on the run is Doppelwalk inside Soul Catcher. Does get that Invisor in the Hand of God, keeping Miggle alive, but no, Stallianer shuts him down anyway, screaming on in after that blink. Big, big damage. However, with this Telly, with the Test of Faith, it's almost enough. Stallianer gonna fall. So that is one big kill. Killing spree, drop down. Chen actually picking that up, moving in towards his mechanism much more quickly because of it. So he does have, all he needs is that 700 gold, and he will have that mechanism up and at him, raring to go. Speaking of, as far as gold per minute, as far as net worth, more importantly, we do see the Phantom Lancer is doing okay at 3,500, but picking up that Yasha is not doing him any favors. He's going to be mobile, he's going to be active, but as far as actually locking down this Queen of Pain, who's so aggressive with her spells, he's still going to be in a pretty poor spot, especially considering the fact that they've been picking up detection more and more. Looking at the items, we actually see that Keeper Light has Sentry Wards and the Shadow Demon has Dust. So both of them are raring to go in case there is any need for it. But I think Synderen's mostly focusing on trying to get rid of all these Observer Wards, because the Radiant had been very aggressive about controlling and observing the enemy's jungle area, but they have been since expiring and it's not been that big of a factor. Dread coming on in, getting flanked up by the Satyr instead. Sedoya is looking for a kill on accompanied with Solo to bring down Unicorn, but it's just taking a moment too long. It's Synderen in a bad spot, Skewer interrupting, and he's just going to get dropped down here. Nice Sprout coming in, double polarity coming out of Sedoya. Miggle trying to help out a little bit here. Will get some damage in. Long term needs to get this ulti. No, he misses him just barely. Miggle gets body blocked by Dread. Nice screen coming out from him, completely negating the potential of that gank right there. And now he's just trying to get some right clicks on in, but cannot follow up. His allies know they can't accomplish anything, and instead they're just walking away. Oh my gosh, that screen, that prevention of the Clockwork Hook was really, really good. Now we do see Rubik picking up a tower deny in mid up against Stallianer, but that's pretty much a very, very limited reprieve from the relentless pressure that's been coming out of 3D Clan in general. We do see that Orchid, the Oblivion staff already up, and the Orchid well on its way. Down on bottom, Medved been farming like a champion, going for that Midas, looking for treads next, and he'll be able to just really, really stay active and aggressive. One thing to note is he did go for Great Cleave already. That is one thing that, while it will help him a ton in teamfights, if you could see more of those double polarities, triple polarities coming out from the Magnus, one thing to keep in mind is it's pushing out his lane with every single sweep of his mighty sword. So that is something to keep in mind, and just try to negate as much as possible. But he is actually putting out pressure on the tower for the moment, and we'll see if he can keep that up enough to actually bring it down, because of course then it will be in principle just very, very valuable to the team. So it pretty much depends on what role he wants to play. If he wants to static farm, it's not a good option, but if he wants to push down towers, as they've done so very well up on the mid lane, then they definitely have that option as well. Coming on in, Nature's Prophet seems to want to come on in and seal the deal. Yay, input lag is gone. Anyways, looking for action on the tower. They're going to be able to bring this down pretty quickly, and Miggle only has a rank, I mean, he has rank for a rocket, but it's not going to do that much to counter push out. He has to get some disables, he has to get some TPs coming in. They go for Medved, and he's in a terrible spot. Is put in the cogs, and although that stun comes on through, gets thrown right back in his face by Miracle. And that's enough to lock him down. Back up on top. Oh, actually hooking in onto Solo. They're going to try to bring him down up on top. Actually, nothing happening here. I thought they were engaging more aggressively, but the action is actually still on Solo for the moment. No, they are down behind the tower. Mania going to be taking some damage. The Hasted Queen of Pain popping off that ulti, finishing it off. The Hand of God, not enough. Sedoy sending out a shockwave that direction before going on the run. Unicorn looking for that damage, but instead Dread just focusing him down hardcore. Unicorn is locked. Nice action from Synderen, but a beautiful defensive disruption keeps Dread up. Sedoy and Sedoy drops to the creeps. Stallianer and Dread walk away. Down on bottom lane, Nature's Prophet inevitably fell to the wild goose chase that the Clockwork and Rubik put out together. But the tower gets killed by Stallianer, no deny from the Chen creeps, and that really puts the 3D Clan in still a really good position despite losing the Prophet down on bottom. So they knew that two people were committed to that really long extended chase sequence, and from there they felt comfortable with diving 3 versus 2 and finding opportunities left and right. They killed the Chen very quickly, not as quickly as they would have liked, but still taking Mania off the board. They were able to follow up with a bunch of other abilities and still conserve the polarity. Reverse polarity not used, really making sure that they can continue to fight and engage aggressively in every single team fight here. So Mechanism coming out in just 100 gold. Mania needs to finish that up really quickly, but Stallianer doesn't want to let it happen. Has the Invisrune, has tons of damage potential output. He just needs a quick, a little bit of help from at least the Soul Catcher, from Dread. Sort of flanking on in. They see Rubik, they see them both, and they're going in on the reverse polarity ×2. Beautiful initiation with that skewer. Magnus going to be able to set up Stallianer for a killing spree and get a nice pick off himself. That Chen so close to his Mechanism, but now back down to 650. I really wanted to finish that out, but instead just losing that opportunity, and that's very unfortunate for them. Synderen trying to farm up just some treads to stay alive a little bit longer, but right now not making a big impact on the battlefield. Instead, we're seeing Clockwork is the one that's going aggressive, but to what end? Medved is still continues to farm away, has the treads to work with now, and although his Warcry isn't maxed out for defensive purposes, he still has a lot of potential just with his hard damage right click. Long term, he'll move in towards Magic Wand, maybe something that can increase his mobility, but either way, he's happy right now to just have that Midas and the treads and stay active on the battlefield. 5,100 in his wallet there, net worth totaling up there, and he's going to be looking for some more action in the near future, looking for some big team fights. Speaking of, here comes Solo to try to block in Miguel, and he is trapped inside. He wants to go for a defensive hookshot. He gets it. He goes actually over aggressive to Medved, technically, but he gets stunned up, and one more right click is all they need to finish him off. However, Medved gets mech'd. Nice mech coming out of Solo, and instead they turn around and Miracle, burning him down despite the Stormbolt steal. And although there was a pretty solid Blinding Light coming out of the Keeper Light, he's just going to fall back from here, and they're going to take this tower by force. The fortification does come on through. Synderen trying to get a big Illuminate out, but instead skewered up. Recall in. Beautiful timing. Unicorn jumps in to turn it around. Now Nature's Prophet has to fall back. Same with Medved. Here, Dread tries to make something happen. The tower does fall to the Radiant, but with this disruption, I'm really not sure if Unicorn can really control this positioning. He does get that lance off, Medved dropping low. He doesn't really have that much more to work with, but a Unicorn doesn't want to go that deep. He has only... actually, the dust just expired, but his Doppel walks off cooldown. So with Solo back in the fray, he does not want to commit to this here. Miguel, on the other hand, really does. The mechanism once again back up. Is that a second mech or the same one twice? Either way, Clockwork coming in, gets the flare up over the tree so that they can finish this off no problem at all with the cogs, with the Test of Faith, but Stalianer, this fight will not end. They're going in a little bit by bit, but now they have 3 full HP heroes raring to go, and Test of Faith pulls out the Clockwork, but Mania will take a fall, the Sacrificial Lamb, as a result. So that was easy cleanup coming out of them. Just really smooth play. Totals out so that they can put the kills on the board for 21-9. The goal graph just continues to go in their favor. Same with experience. And those Midases not really showing their cost down. The return of investment has kind of already taken effect. And from there, they're able to go for big combat items. Looking for a Scythe next. Prophet. Let me make sure there's no double mech. Okay, there wasn't only the second mech, so he just had it, pretty much spammed it, and as soon as it came off cooldown, he was able to get another very nice heal out of it. So, effective in its own right here. We do see the 18-minute rune going to Stalianer. Yet again, he's controlling these runes so very effectively. I think only 1 or 2 going to the enemy, and from there he's been able to use them to just keep the damage coming. 3 bracers up on Clockwork. All Miguel wants to do is get a good hookshot, good cogs, and stay alive in the process. And so he's been trying to go as tanky as possible, but as great as 1400 HP is, it's very inefficient, and he will have to sell them long term. Miguel in a bad spot, sprouted up. Dread's here with the Soul Catcher Orchid, and here's Stalianer to clean it up with some quick burst. A couple right clicks to finish the job, and that is 1 dead Clockwork. And they just walk away with a single pick off under their belt. Nice movement. This Sentry Ward would have been perfect for Absolute Legends, except it was a completely different position to go on into. Medved getting some damage in, but he actually is going to take a few right clicks the other direction. Will be able to escape. The pursuit comes in onto Dread. Unicorn trying to do that damage, but just gets Test of Faith out. He wants to make sure that he is surviving, and Mania just doesn't want to risk it here. Knows that he can prioritize his survivability over his own. Now, no opportunity to deny this TP. Mania will get out himself. So, taking a couple kills off the board in the sense that they don't have to worry about getting killed, but they also miss some opportunities. Medved limping back to base with 250 HP, and the Shadow Demon is actually dropping really low as well. But good movement from Solo, good mechanism pickup, means that it's not going to be an option, and they should just play as conservatively as possible, as we have seen. Now it looks like we're going to see a Diffusal Blade pickup coming out of the Phantom Lancer. Picked up the Asha and a Bracer just for some survivability, and now he's just finding his farm to get towards that 1 core item. If he can get that up, he will have that much more damage output, even the potential to drain out the Queen of Pain, just drain her dry completely. But simultaneously we see the 2 pickups here, the Blink Dagger on their offlane Magnus, the Blink Dagger up on the mid Rubik. So this is the timing that they need for both players, actually. Pretty much if Miracle did not have a Blink Dagger available, but Sidoi did, it would mean that the reverse polarities would have an initiation range that the Rubik could not match. But now that he has the Blink Dagger, he can still stay even further away, make sure that he's never caught in the RP, and then just try to go for a Blink Steal and try to set it up that way. Down at bottom, Miracle going to the Blink Telekinesis, trying to burn him down, and they get it. Perfect timing with this Illuminate coming on through. Really good communication between Miracle and Synderen, setting it up so they can burst him down before he even knew what hit him. Sorry for that. Now we are seeing just a little bit of dual farm as they push up on the top lane here. Nature's Prophet just bringing down this tower extremely quickly without any fortify. That is pretty much nothing they can do about it. They have to let it fall. And that is a lot of tower control pretty much taken out, where the 3D clan has pretty much control full of the map. The enemy's jungle, the Dire jungle specifically, is wide open, and they're going to be farming it themselves. So you see Sidoi with that Empower rank 2, just farming away very happily. They have good vision up on this high ground here, and there's really not too much AL can do. So that is pretty much they're in a very, very scared position, and they're not really sure how to go aggressive here. They do have triple Centaur, which does help to some extent, but we'll have to see if it pans out, if you can actually get those chained up back to back. Either way, on mid lane, we do see Solo coming on in to try to bring down Miggle, and they do have the Orchid, and now skewering him back on in. He is toast. Really, really good timing from Sidoi, and using that blink to great effect to pull him on in. Does end up getting caught in the cogs along with 2 of his allies, but they're just having a small party here in celebration of the Clockwork Staff. Either way, we see that Syndra's going to go for some counter push here. Well timed for it, because they really, really need to hold on to this tier 2. If they start losing tier 2s this frequently with a Keeper of the Light, then they are just going to completely lose the map. They can't teleport to Roche, they can't control their jungle, so on and so forth. We do see a single RP caught up on Miracle. That's all he wants, is just to pull him out, and they are going to get it. The Orchid and the Scream securing it here. PL does get his defusal, but in that exchange, Sidoi willing to commit that big, big ultimate just to make sure that it's used without being stolen. Now, triple clap from the Centaurs. Big damage coming out. He minuses 1, but it's just too much. Now they're going to try to retaliate here, but Medved still perfectly fine. Hand of God does come out, keeping Syndra up for a moment, but it's too late. Clockwork finds out Medved. One more click. There we go. He's going to be able to finish it up. Does actually survive for a little bit longer, but I think Miggle should be able to clean this up with one more little bit there. Either way, Queen of Pain finishing up on Syndra and Dota. He bought back into this just to die again. Too much gold loss here. Solo trapped in with these Centaurs, but I don't think they have the stuns to finish it, so he's going to be able to get on out, and the only casualty is the Sven, whilst the Queen of Pain, Stalianer, finishes it off the Clockwork for a triple kill. The only one she has to worry about is that PL, but happy to take away a 4-for-1 kill exchange here. Always seems to happen. Dread picks up a Geometry Sight. He doesn't have any vision up on this high cliff, so he has to Shadow Poison away and misses it like 3 times over. It's kind of amusing, but either way, it looks like he's going to do some cheeky... Oh my gosh, that's really cheeky play, actually. Using the Magic Stick just to get a little bit more mana by dropping his Intellect and mana-type items, so the percent-based increase is more substantial. We do see a Scythe of Ice up on Solo, trying to lock down the Blink Rubik Miracle, just barely getting out of dodge there. If he got disabled for those 3.5 seconds, it probably would have spelt his demise. He's pretty much their target. They're gunning for him all day long, and if he shows his face like this, he could get dropped down pretty hardcore. As Sidoi going for him, but he doesn't have that RP just yet. Looking for a refresher as well. Now going on in, Solo trying to give a little bit of support long range with that mechanism. With the sheep that he has available, they pretty much can't choose to initiate on that unless they know exactly where Dread is, which is far from here. Based on the fact that the gem has dewarded them, though, they don't really know that. They don't have control of this. Instead, Sidoi coming in aggressively and doing enough damage to Syndra, and just with that sheep stick alone, Unicorn burning through. Beautiful hook. Miggle getting a beautiful hook onto the Queen of Pain. And we're going to see that she has to buy back to try to jump in on this. Has her ultimate still available. Sidoi looking for that RP. Gets it on 2, and a bunch of creeps here. Queen of Pain following up with a nice Sonic Wave, but not enough damage with the Scream. They rely on Medved to get the stun. Go for some chops onto Mania. Finish him out as well. Nice movement there. Miracle will TP on out, but at the cost of 3 of their allies. So that is going to be a huge kill differential for the Radiant 3D clan, just sweeping this in. And it's going to be under the rug in a little bit, because 20k gold advantage and a 22k experience advantage is extremely hard to come back from. Phantom Lancer is one of those carries that can accomplish this, but his farm isn't on point. Sitting at 8,300 compared to 210ks. Oh my gosh, actually pulling 13k on the Nature's Prophet. I mean, he is farming away. 136 last hits, plenty of kills and assists. And now they can easily take this tier 4 despite 3 people being up. Despite the counter push of a Keeper Light, they feel comfortable in this position. It's ridiculous how much they're willing to take this high ground here. And Stalianer still keeps on DPSing away, finishes off the Rubik. Looking for Syndra as well, can't blink with that mana leak on him, but he's still perfectly fine with at least picking off 1 more kill. Taking down that solo mid. And I gotta say, one thing is really, really unfortunate for them, but Mania has been picked off time and time again. He's sitting at 2, 7, and 5. You can say that for a Chen, you can say that for a Keeper Light. It happens occasionally. They're so squishy, they're so immobile. But when you talk about that for a solo mid Rubik, who should be controlling the pace of the game, to be using the enemy spells so effectively that they can't not only not kill him, but that they set up a bunch of kills for your allies, and he's only been able to take part in 7 kills and has died that many times himself, that is very, very unfortunate. They keep gunning for him, they keep focusing him down, and Mania having a really rough game as a result. Just not responding well to that pressure. Now Queen of Pain has the Aegis intact. PL farming as best he can, but those Phantom Edge illusions are only going to accomplish so much long term, and they still keep on the pressure. Synderen going to push out the mid, and then the bottom will just come right-clicking on in. Finish off the tier 2 here. Golgraf getting in even a worst-case scenario for Absolute Legends, and it might be the beginning of the end for them here. This tier 3 is pretty much what they have to take for 3D Clan to secure the win here, and I'm curious to see how they're going to accomplish it. Nice steal from the Magnus, but I believe it's just a Shockwave. It is indeed. So throwing that on out, Stalianer trying to pick off Miracle. They've been doing this all game long. Miguel has to counter-initiate, has to Cogs. Instead, he drops to the Orchid, and now Stalianer gets that Sheep off her. I believe that was the... No, it doesn't matter. Going through with that big ultimate. There was a nice play from the Keeper Light, but it's just too much damage coming out. And instead, despite the blinding light, they're able to pick off multiple heroes and look for this tier 3. They have the creeps to tank it up. They even have a Wild Wing Tornado, for crying out loud. They can just do all that they want. Actually, that might be the Chens. I don't know. Either way, they're in an interesting spot here. Finishing off Cinder and Dodo. One more right click will do it. Stalianer falling back from here, but he has enough HP and the Age is still available. So yeah, that is the enemy Wild Wing, but yeah, he's not having too many issues here. Anyways, tier 3 falls, and with that, the racks are so vulnerable. The Phantom Lancer all he can do is contribute an occasional Spirit Lance, and he doesn't even have that much mana to support it. So these racks will fall, and with that, they have so much momentum going in the bottom lane. They have so much pressure that they can't really respond to. So unless there's some big throws coming on out, 3D Clan is in a commanding lead of this game. Stalianer actually doing it out with Miracle. The mechanism does come out, but it looks like despite the penitence, he'll be able to blink away. Yeah. Either way, Miguel in a bad spot here. He thinks he's initiating, and that might be true, but they don't have a Hand of God available. He cannot be healed up. Instead, the damage comes across. No, he gets Test of Faith back. Nice play by the Chen, and now Miracle doing out with Solo. It looks like he's going to get the kill through that stun. Stalianer, though, cleaning it up, finishing off Synderen, and just pops off the HC Immortal. Looking for Miracle. He is in a terrible spot. Actually, Blink TPs away. Dread needs the Shadow Poison. He gets it, and he kills him with it. Dread gets a double kill out of it. Godlike Spree for his Shadow Demon at 28 minutes. Of all things, Dread picks up a Godlike Spree for himself. That is insane. That is ridiculous. And now, I don't think they need to push him for the mid, but they have that opportunity. Now this pesky bird, and from there, a little bit extra cash in the bank. They're going to move on to try to take this out 100%. Unicorn does have coming out, it looks like a Ultimate Orb, looking for that Manta style, but it just kind of feels like it's a little too late. He really needed that a long time ago, and now that the Sven has the Great Cleave, the Empower is maxed out, Magnus and Sven alone can completely destroy all those illusions that spawn up from the Manta and from all of his other passives. Demon Edge coming out of Queen of Pain. She could be looking for a Monkey King Bar or a Daedalus. Dare I say a Divine Rapier. She can pretty much go for whatever her heart desires because she has that linkage. She's so darn survivable. She can accomplish things like this even despite a mechanism. Just that Orchid dealing a lot of damage amplification, but more importantly, just dealing that burst heavily through the magic. Miguel trying to turn things around with some nice Cogs actions, but it's a level 21 Queen of Pain. She shrugs that off and keeps on going. Now jumping out on Unicorn. Big damage from the Soul Catcher. Hand of God comes out, but it's just too little too late. They can't finish it off, and instead, here comes Solo, raring to go for another one. Looking to actually get some damage into Miguel. They are going to get the Sheep on him. Actually go the Sheep onto Miracle. Interesting play there, but it's enough to burst him down. Nice Clockwork ulti to keep Miguel up, but it's good game well played coming on out because they just can't control their own base. And if you're not defending appropriately in your base, then what can you accomplish? So, well played to 3D Clan. They're going to take this win, and that means they're going to move up in the rankings just a little bit. They're getting a second win in the Premier League in general, as far as best of 3 matches go anyways. And that sets them up nicely. We didn't see some too many baller RPs from Sidoi, but they didn't need them. They got the ones that counted. They made sure that the Rubik never stole anything spectacular. Honestly, Mania, as far as his spell steals go, like he had a Shockwave. I don't think he stole any ultimates. I don't think he stole anything really game-breaking in any way. He stole a Shockwave, and that's about it. So, Hookshot. No, that was last game. Okay, now, I don't know. It's just, it really wasn't really that great of Rubik play, and unfortunately that was because of all the pressure that was put out on him. He doesn't have escapes, he doesn't have survivability mechanics, and instead he just gets dropped down. Looks like Unicorn will be able to finish off this cat and mouse game between him and Dread, but, you know, he's happy. He's gotten plenty of kills under his belt, and even if he does drop down once, he's in an okay position here. Zidoia actually skewering him away, but gets the Ghost Scepter up, so unless the Rocket Flare comes out, he's okay. Nice silence. I don't even know if I should call it anymore. It's kind of pointless as the tier 4s do fall by the wayside, but I gotta at least give credit to Miguel in this one. He does get the hook shot and finishes his task there at the very least, so Smooth move and a smiley face from him. So yeah, some small play, some good plays in small regards, but they just in the big picture could not control this completely overwhelming dominant spree. And of both the games that were won very, very aggressively by 3D Clan, I think it has a lot to do with that Nature's Prophet. We're kind of seeing a resurgence where he plays that global strat, that global potential, where he can move around the map very quickly, help pick off some kills early on, get a Midas up, and then from there, pick up something really, really powerful, whether it's Shadow Blade for some extra burst, Mechanism for some extra utility and healing, whatever he needs to accomplish to stay relevant and stay active. And that's been pretty much tipping the scales in their favor ever since. And now we're going to see this go in favor of 3D Clan as they conclude on out of this game. So they're just playing around a little bit here and there, but inevitably these tier 4s will fall. The Mega Creeps have dropped down, the good game will plays have gone on out. So I'll be waiting for the scoreboard to come on through. But one thing to keep in mind for everybody that's still in either the Twitch stream or the Dota TV is we're going to have something called Ask the Pros. We're going to look to talk to, I believe, Dread, if possible. Actually just finding out any one of them that has good, clear English for you guys, and we'll have a post-match interview as we call Ask the Pros. And so you can jump on the Twitch live stream, that's twitch.tv/the Premier League, and ask your questions in the Twitch chat when I ask for it. So that's going to be in a little bit here. We'll see exactly who we're getting on, hopefully someone. But ironically, because of the fact that the 3D Clan disconnected on out first, they technically lost this game in the eyes of the end result, but we all know and that they just completely dominated this game. Very, very smoothly played, and good win to 3D Clan in the end. So that's going to be it for this portion of the cast and such. It was Game 3 of this Best of 3 series, so 2-1. That's 3D Clan taking the series by storm. But in the end, we're going to be looking at the Ask the Pros interview, and hopefully you guys can join us for that on the live stream. So again, that's twitch.tv/the Premier League, and we'll have that coming up in just a few minutes.